Welcome to Spin Cycle, where we dig into the stories shaping the world.
And take a closer look at the patterns, power plays, and yes, the biases hiding in plain sight.
We're Gab and Claire, two friends with MBAs, a lot of opinions, and a healthy amount of skepticism.
We're here to help you think twice and maybe have a few laughs.
Let's get spinning.
Gab, I've been in an absolute chokehold about this. I knew about the collapse through reading the AFR, and it was only Saturday night that I discovered the subreddit of victims and people who are interested in this collapse of the investment fund, and it went down the biggest rabbit hole of my life. One, it's absolutely obscene, the scale of what's occurred. I'm so devastated for the people who've lost everything. For many, the entire super has just vanished, and these are people that were close to retirement. But two, you can actually see how this happened, and that's the most chilling part. The manipulation is so layered, calculated, and brazen.
And what you're talking about here is the First Guardian collapse. So talk us through this seems to be one of the biggest crimes financially in Australian history. So talk us through the fallout and essentially what has happened. What is the news here?
590 million tanked in the First Guardian Master Fund. Over 6,000 Australians, mostly planning for retirement, have been wiped out. They effectively logging into their portal and seeing zero or not much money.
Oh my goodness.
Accounts that once show $800,000 shrank to just a few $1,000s overnight, and their accounts frozen.
Oh, imagine if this was you. And I'm sure a lot of these people are on the brink of retirement.
Mm-hmm. And also many was small business owners that had self-managed super funds. For many in the threads, investors did the right checks. They made sure they were licensed. They spoke to a accredited financial advisor. They were using credible platforms like NetWealth and the Macquarie investment platform. And it turns out that this is now a huge Ponzi scheme with some theft involved.
Okay, so it's sounding very shady, but I'm sure they came across as quite legit in their time. So what was the marketing like? It must have been next level convincing.
You're a marketer. If someone gave you $45 million to spend on a 6-month campaign.
Claire, I'd take that any day. That's huge.
But what would you get for $45 million?
Whatever you want and more. Honestly, you could do so much with that money. You could have the most craziest, wackiest idea, but the amount of spend you would put behind it would make anyone convinced.
What about if you were spending on like the digital spend?
The limit does not exist. That is significant.
You would be showing up on like the top of Google and that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, if people are searching and you do not have a cap to your bidding, yeah, sure, you would outbid anyone else.
That's exactly what they were doing. Falcon Capital spent over $45 million on marketing and referral payments and promoting First Guardian as an alternative choice to slow-performing industry super funds. And they went absolute gangbusters. They were just splashing the cash. They didn't even care about what their return on marketing spend was, because they just had to get volume in the door to be able to prop up their Ponzi scheme.
I just wonder that messaging around slow performing in super funds as a comparison. I mean, how legally sound is their claims in their marketing?
I don't think they really cared about that, to be honest.
And not picked up, which is unfortunate.
Often with these sort of claims, it goes to market and it's maybe a year later or 2 years later that the regulator may investigate it and say, were those claims unsubstantiated or misleading or deceptive? But in this case, they didn't care about longevity. The thing that's bizarre about this is it was the ultimate house of cards, and did they know how short their rope was?
Wow.
How they approached it is they did a lot of cold calling, getting people in for free super reviews, and they would come in and speak to a financial advisor from Venture Egg, and they would go from there, and they'd get brought into the shininess. The reviews at the time were excellent because people were seeing on paper these amazing returns. That marketing spend and all those marketers that got paid an obscene amount of money at many marketing firms.
This is so juicy.
All right. So Gab, I'm going to introduce you the first man, the man in the middle, David Anderson. And he's at the heart of this. He's been described by colleagues as smart but emotionally tone deaf, and that was through an expose done in The Australian. Anderson grew up in absolute privilege in Hawthorne. He was
Hawthorne, Victoria.
Hawthorne, Victoria.
Okay.
Educated in finance and worked at Goldman Sachs, JB Ware and UBS. They said that he was hyper intelligent but had very low emotional intelligence than his peers. And for someone to exceed in investment banking, your relationship management and ability to read the room and make connections is how you make your money after you go past those first former years of being an analyst, worked about grunt work and being math. So his intelligence would have helped him
in
early.
the early days, but then as those soft skills become more and more important,
He couldn't.
So,
After being made redundant, he set up Falcon with Simon Selmarsh, and he successfully recruited heavy hitters. And he had former BHP execs and veteran agribusiness leaders to paper over governance and to sort of set them up. Having heavy hitters like that helped to make his firm look very legitimate. But someone else described him as someone who only ever worked when there was a cut in it for him. His ambition also extended into agriculture, and he launched agri-funds and platforms targeting Chinese investments. But most of these failed because he didn't have the skills and capability to deliver on them, and his focus was enriching his own benefits.
seems like he's got a lot of blind spot for a finance bro.
Yeah. I mean, he's coming across as that like quintessential finance bro right now.
Totally. So Ponzi scheme 101, talk me through this.
So Ponzi schemes pay investors earlier with money from new investors. So they're not real returns. They're not actually investing the money, or they're not investing the money to what they say they are. And the illusion holds until inflows dry up.
The most I was going to say before I interrupt you, but like in my mind right now is Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes. Wolf of Wall Street. More Bernie Madoff.
Oh yeah, true.
Bernie
True.
Madoff is probably the best Ponzi scheme. Or Melissa Caddick, you know, the lady that cut off her leg?
Yeah.
Or they found her leg?
Yes.
Whichever conspiracy theory you want to
The
believe.
chicken or the egg?
In First Guardian, it's been confirmed that liquidators found new investor funds were being used to pay for redemptions and expenses, and that's why we suspect this was a Ponzi behaviour. Anderson also made a series of loans to ventures he controlled and also loans to others in the industry.
Claire, take us back.
Okay, I'll take you guys through a timeline of what's actually occurred. So 2019 to 20, the fund launches. Anderson reportedly used fund capital to buy a Lamborghini and pay off his $9 million Hawthorne Yarra River mansion mortgage, and he also invested in millions into pet projects. And just a side note, Gab, this guy's a bit of a loser. Like, this is the way he tried to get in with people.
Oh, trying to buy his way in.
He bought his way into the
the community.
and to be, you know, who's who of Melbourne, splashing the cash to prop up restaurant groups and developments.
It's just sad, really.
2021, 2023, Hawkes IM, the former partner, reports into the ASIC as early as 2019 and 2021. Despite all this, ASIC does not act until 2024. So
3 years later.
3 years they allow him to go on, despite the fact
so much
partners report him for poor governance activity. March 2024 is when ASIC finally issues warnings, and this makes me infuriated. 2 days later, Anderson moves $188 million offshore to a Singaporean entity he controlled, which makes $242 million he has sent offshore to entities where he is affiliated to.
Oh, huge red flag.
Do you reckon that money's coming back?
No, I don't think so.
Just a side note. So I'm just going to say, I don't know how long this guy's going to go to jail for. The people that have gone to the longest sentence I kind of know for what crime is those 2 boys that did the insider trading scandal.
How long did they go?
7 years.
It's nothing.
Would you go to jail for 7 years to keep $242 million?
Yep. In a heartbeat. What's 7 years?
Okay.
What's 7 years if you've got that money? Like, if I'm him, no.
And he's already in his 40s.
You know, he's past the point of prime.
Yeah.
One would think.
So if
right?
I'm just going to make up, he's like 45. So he's going to be out at 52 with $242 million.
But even if he ages in that time, even if his health suffers, he's got all the money to fix that. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like natural justice on this should be, if he is guilty, because this is all allegedly.
Is it dependent to how many people's lives you have affected? Like, is that part of the contribution of how they...
No, there's sentencing guidelines for this stuff. And it unfortunately doesn't favour really long custodial sentences. I would love if the sentence was like, you can't come out of prison until you return the money.
Well, this is the thing. If it's hypothetically 7 years, I understand why he's not really deterred by the risk. Yeah. I mean, if that's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. 2024 in May, withdrawals from First Guardian were suspended and investors were locked out. So It's now been over a year and they have not had access to their money. February 2025, ASIC obtains court orders freezing Falcon, First Guardian, and Anderson's asset, and also issued them travel bans until 2026 against Anderson and Selmage. Since then, liquidators have been appointed, and they have come up with a anticipation that the shortfall is going to be $450 to $580 million.
Oh,
That means for every dollar invested, at best, investors might see 20 cents on the dollar.
that is
So 500,000, you get 100,000.
that is life-changing in the worst way. This has obviously gone out, it's public. Does everyone know who is affected?
We don't know, like there's 6,000 people that were in the fund that have been impacted.
Yeah.
Financial advisors, so those that had a statement of advice in recommending them to the fund, would be eligible for compensation.
Yep.
That's a maximum of $140,000.
Ugh,
And that's,
it's not going to scratch the surface of some of that.
so where did the money go? $69 million went into Anderson's pet projects, which include Fox Friday Brewing, and it collapsed. Rogue Trade of Restaurants, which was the restaurant group by Scott Pickett, also collapsed.
Oh.
Chiodo Property Fund, they never paid it back.
Oh,
For their
my
loans.
goodness.
And they also collapsed. Well, actually, they phoenixed, but yeah,
They
collapsed. They phoenixed. Also collapsed.
Yeah.
$242 million, as we mentioned, Anderson moved overseas, not likely to be retrieved. And millions, so that, at least $45 million in marketing payments went to Venture Egg and other advisors, despite gap. And this makes me infuriated.
Yeah.
Investor documents claiming advisors received no fees.
What?
So after the Royal Banking Commission, they created a lot of legislation that stopped financial advisors being remunerated to recommend specific products. So that parallel marketing. So this was particularly prevalent in like banks where the financial advisors just coincidentally always recommended their own banking products and they received higher commissions for recommending those. And this fundamentally changed the remuneration structure of the financial advising industry, and they received a percentage allocation for managing or preparing a statement of advice and supporting funds under management rather than receiving commission for the products that they recommend.
Honestly, their effect is just humongous. And to bring the human costs to light here, it's really disheartening. A 41-year-old business owner's super balance dropped from $800,000 to $6,000.
Yeah.
We also know of a retiree needing surgery, had their super locked up and delayed.
Yeah, and they're in a lot of pain. They need back surgery, and this is just debilitating for them.
It is. A pint-sized brewery owner, that's not the same brewery, is it?
No, different brewery.
But lost both his super savings and his client's business when Fox Friday collapsed.
Yeah, they were over-leveraged. And many victims had trusted licensed advice and platform-listed funds, only discovered that were misled by jargon buried deep in documents. Or what is most disturbing is this thing called a negative consent model. And how this happens is the victims are lured in.
Yeah.
They meet with the financial advisor and they say, I can get you these amazing returns on a very vanilla set of investments. So that might be, we'll put some in an investment super fund, we'll put some in some diversified assets, and diversified assets are assets where investments move in different directions. So if one investment does poorly, it means the other one will likely do quite well. So these people felt based on the investments that seemed reasonable, but they ran this thing called a negative consent model. And what that means, Gab, is they were sent a notification. And some people are saying they didn't get these notifications where I'm going to move all your money into First Guardian Asset Fund. And if you don't tell me no within 7 days, I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
Oh, you're kidding.
Never heard of anything like that. That is so not normal.
It's also, how much of a leg do they have to stand on that? I mean.
Oh, none. But that's part of the scam.
Yeah, but those people just thought, okay.
Because if they had said, I'm going to put 100% in First Guardian Investment Fund, they probably would never have agreed to the statement of advice in the first place. What's effectively failed here? David Anderson, orchestrator, misuser of funds, was allowed to basically get away with it. And he had many people tell him, you are doing the wrong thing. Many people raised the flags, and ASIC did not act until he had been in this industry for many years doing this. Simon Selmage, his co-director and insider, was complicit in major transactions that occurred. For us, Mary bought thousands of people into the fund through their marketing activities, allegedly received undisclosed millions in fees.
How do they sleep at night?
This is just a case, Gab, of, and they're all men, of men feeling like
I
they're so
know.
clever.
At some point, you have to sort of switch off the humanity, don't you? Because I don't know how else they can do this to so many innocent people.
Yeah, there is something not quite right there. What is super interesting is the platform and trustees, so Net Wealth, Equity Trustees,
Yep.
Diverse and Macquarie, could actually be under fire because they allowed them to use their systems without adequate scrutiny.
Yeah, true. What are all the sense checks? Honestly, how were they on there? It just increases their authority.
Yeah, if you're going to have them on their platform, you need to have due diligence that they're legitimate in
But
what they say they
how many
are.
of the other how many of the other funds are on there that haven't been through due diligence?
Exactly.
You know?
Well, where else is this going to come out?
Yeah.
Looking ahead, so what's going to happen next? The liquidators are still working through. The asset recoveries could take many years, and that's if they can even recover much more. The court cases is only just starting. So ASIC and the courts are investigating criminal charges, and there's also talks of class actions, particularly against the platforms, because you can't flog a dead horse. Once you've already taken all the assets away from these individuals that are part of this, who else do you go after? Platforms.
Yep.
That will drag on for years. And calls are growing for stronger reform in best interest duties in financial advice, tighter oversight in self-managed super funds and managed investment schemes, and better transparency in fees and marketing conflicts. The last point, these people were acting deceitful, so they weren't legitimate. But I think it's so important that if you are investigating self-managed super funds, you need to know the risks and you need to know that there are a lot of dodgy scams out there.
Yeah, 6,000 people didn't think twice.
Everything looked legitimate. They had credentials. The platforms were respected. The paperwork was there.
But what is our advice then as non-financial advisors? Just really do research.
Do your research. If you don't know or you're not comfortable, look up who are some of the leading super funds in Australia and pursue maybe those.
Yeah.
Or speak to someone you trust and do your due diligence. But unfortunately, these people did their due diligence and they still weren't safe.
Exactly.